Okay, members, we are returned from our break now at 1:33, and we'd like to go to item 10 under the executive director's, item 11 under the executive director's reports. This is the operational priorities and quarterly budget report. And we have Ms. Renati presenting this, please.
Chair Lieber and honorable members, I am Lisa Renati, Chief Deputy Director, and today I will report on some of the agency's operational priorities and projects. The first item is our strategic efforts on BOE's workforce planning. We continue to fill vacant positions, and since our last meeting, we successfully filled 4 positions within our tax programs. 1 is a promotion in place, 2 are transfers from other state agencies, and 1 is a new hire from the private sector. Through consistent and proactive recruitment initiatives, our vacancy rate is holding at around 5 to 6%, which reflects our dedication to building a robust team. We have initiated recruitment activities for our remaining vacant agency positions and hope to hire more new staff in the coming months. The management team also continues to perform multiple activities to develop our workforce and implement succession planning. Our current projects include detailed process mapping to ensure continuity of business operations should someone retire or leave state service, knowledge transfer activities to prepare staff to succeed and lead, an agency-wide confidential employees engagement survey, which will allow us to gather feedback, measure current satisfaction, and proactively address employee concerns, and continued development of digital files and knowledge repositories to make important information easily accessible, whether you're working at home or in the office. The next item we've already talked about briefly was our technology project, which, as we mentioned earlier during Executive Stowers' report, is currently in stage 3 of the project approval process. We hope to get approval, and once it is provided, we will release our request for proposal to the public. This project is being worked on very diligently by Kathy Taylor, our Chief of Board Proceedings and Operations Support Services, Jack McCool, I'm giving him a new name, Jack McCool, Chief of State Assessed Properties, and we have Harry Pond with CDTFA as our project manager. Additionally, it should be mentioned, I know Jack could go in and talk more about this, is the people that are working on this project are the actual staff that will use the IT. So they are very invested in making sure we are successful and that they know all the little ins and outs. So it's not the powers that be telling people how it's going to work. It's the people that do the work asking for what they want. So moving to the next item, which is our quarterly budget report. And this is for the third quarter for the agency for fiscal year 25-26. As you know, the general fund provides our funding for our tax programs and a current working appropriation of 190.6 positions and about $34.3 million for the support of our programs and our employees. About 86% of our budget is for personal services, which is benefits, salaries of our employees, and then the remaining 14% is for operation support, which would include our leases, our equipment, our travel, our training, and all of the operating expenses to run the agency. Due to our very low vacancy rate, we are currently going to expend the majority of our personal services, which is a good thing. We have the staffing we need to do our jobs. As a whole, we're on target to spend about 90% of our entire budget operations. We continue to be just committed to efficiency, effective use of funds. We make sure that every single purchase we make is mission critical. We want to make sure that the dollars that we use, we know they're taxpayer dollars, that we use them wisely. So we continue to make sure everything's very necessary and critical. And then the next item is our vacation and annual leave unfunded liability. So every time employees they accrue vacation and they accrue annual leave or other leave credits, it's an unfunded liability to the state. And if someone should leave state service with a large balance, that then cuts into our budget because we can't fill the position until that amount's paid out, and it's a big dollar amount. So CalHR has rules and policies as well as our own internal policies, and we're ensuring that all state employees at the BOE make sure that they use their vacation time to make sure we don't have an unfunded liability, plus work-life balance is very important. So right now, we are making sure everybody stays under the cap limits. And then lastly, as you know, the governor released his budget earlier this year. Our proposed budget remains basically the same, no loss in positions, no change in budget allocation of funding. So far, so good. We'll keep you guys informed if we, any other budget activities come forward that you need to know about. I am available to answer any questions you may have.
Great. Members, any questions for Ms. Renati? Mr. Vasquez?
Yes, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Renati, for your report. I know I think it was last month, you reported out that you're projecting, and I guess in the next 5 to 10 years, like a 49% loss of folks turning over or retiring, I imagine. And I think you might have touched on it. What's the strategy you think moving forward? Because I'm sure a lot of those are in leadership roles, right? Or were in leadership roles, or maybe in leadership roles.
Well, 49% of our staff are eligible to retire. I'm not sure that they will retire, but 49 are eligible, meaning that they have reached the age of eligible for retirement. We have within our management team, our key leadership, it's about the same percentage eligible to retire. So that's why the knowledge transfer activities that we're doing right now are very important to make sure that we have multiple people knowing how to train to do the same thing, having things written down and processes. So if someone leaves, you can pick up the handbook and figure out how to do the work. So that's what our continuing succession planning is all about. We know that it's going to happen. Every 10 years, this agency has a big retirement wave. We're due. Last time it happened was 2017 to 19, where we lost about 20% of our staff. So we're prepared for it by doing the knowledge transfer, succession planning, bringing more people into the room. But it is going to happen, so
Thank you.
you can only live through it.
Other questions? Mr. Schaefer, did you have a question or comment? Oh, darn, I think you're on mute.
Thank you. I forgot I was muted. I know you only deal with personnel, and I know that what's been taken care of is no longer an issue. I was predicting the fact that I tried to consolidate my Sacramento office with my San Diego office, which is where I do all the work, and it took me about a year to 2 to accomplish it. It's been done, so that doesn't need any attention. I'm concerned that we have an auditorium that seats 300 people, and we're lucky to get 15 or 20 people to attend. I'm thinking for the long life of the BOE, if there isn't a smaller venue that would be able to seat our 5 members and maybe an audience of 20 to 30 people instead of 300. I just wondered if the only facility we have to meet in is 10 times the size of what we need. I know that's above your pay grade because you're dealing with people, not rentals, but I'm just telling you it's a concern of mine, and I'd like somebody to get me an answer that, yes, there is a smaller venue, or no, there isn't. Thank you.
Member Schaefer, thank you for your question. Part of my purview is facilities, including where we have our meetings. And we knew we were going to lose the facility at 450 N Street, which was the original boardroom back in the previous administration. And before we decided on this location, we did search out other locations and looking for close by, low cost, and having the availability of all the technology that we need so we can broadcast. And this facility is actually the best choice for us because it doesn't cost us very much. We have all the systems we need. We are available should we have a lot of taxpayers come for like a Prop 19 discussion, as we've had in the past. And we also have the IT folks from CDTFA who are our service provider. So we'll keep it in mind and keep looking for other locations as we need, but right now this is very economical for us.
Well, maybe the answer is we should start serving lunch and thus triple the number of the people attending.
I didn't hear it. Was there a question, sir?
Oh,
Okay.
I was suggesting if we can't get a smaller venue, we could triple our attendance, to 50 or 100 people by serving lunch.
Unfortunately, that's not something that the agency would be able to pay for. It's not within our budget, but something to consider.
Thank you.
Great, and I would just add to that, perhaps you could confirm this for me, Ms. Renati, this overall space, including the auditorium and the lobby and the building and et cetera, is primarily CDTFA. And the BOE offices for our professional staff are actually much more modest, and they're in a different location. But we're very fortunate that we can just borrow this room from CDTFA and be able to use it.
It's my understanding this building is DGS and this facility is DGS. And so, but yes, our facilities that house our agency staff is modest. And we make do with less, but we're doing very well.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, thank you very much. And we'll go on now to item 12, which is our Chief Counsel Quarterly Report presented by Mr. Moon.
Good afternoon, members of the board. Richard Moon, Chief Counsel. I'm here to provide my brief update, quarterly update on the activities of the legal department. So all the numbers are linked to the material in the pan, so I won't go through those in great detail. I will just let you know that things that we're working on, almost as always it seems, unless it's appeal season, is really to get all of the technical advice that we give out to become more efficient in doing that and try and get caught up on all of the advice that we have to do. We are, I believe, making some headway, and hopefully we're going to improve each and every quarter in terms of how long that takes us. I guess, good news that I wanted to share is that we were finally successful in hiring 2 new attorneys. So they will start in May, and we have high hopes for them, and we're looking forward to have them on board. So I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Super. Mr. Emron.
The congratulations on the 2 attorneys, very, very exciting. And they're going to be starting like entry level, or are they going to be doing some complex work?
They will be starting at the attorney 1 level, which is the beginning attorney position. One of the attorneys has prior state service, and so, but we have high hopes for both of them.
Thank you.
Mr. Vasquez.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Moon, for your report. As I'm looking through it, just a quick question. I guess when your report shows on, I guess it's 3 cases were completed in Q1, I guess quarter 1. Does that mean that the cases were resolved by the BOE, or they're just no longer, involved?
So those particular cases were cases in which we were named as defendants, but we're not really the party in interest. And so we were monitoring those and appearing and answering in court when we needed to, but the substantive issue was not ours. And recently there was a court decision that resolved some of the issues, and so those 3 cases that were closed withdrew their cases from the courts.
We're gone.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no further questions, thank you so much,
Thank you.
Mr. Moon. We appreciate your report. And we'll go on to item 13, which is our Communications Chief's Quarterly Report, presented by Mr. Taylor.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Lieber and honorable members. It's a pleasure to see everyone again. For the record, John Taylor, Chief Communications Officer. Today, I'm going to provide a brief update on Communications Department activities for the first quarter. I'm now a little over 60 days into my role here at the Board of Equalization. Truly appreciative of the very warm welcome and strong support that I've received. During that time, we have continued our daily operations of the Communications Department, while also beginning an assessment of BOE communications across social media, public-facing web pages, writing standards, plain language skills, and overall brand approach. An early area of progress for us is our expanded social media content. You've seen that we're working to increase awareness of board meetings by aligning social media posts with the release of the notice of public meetings on our website. And we're also consistently promoting recorded sessions following each meeting. We're also broadening our content. So in addition to new social media posts like Find Your Board Member, we're highlighting the services of the Taxpayers' Rights Advocate Office and sharing helpful information that's available online. For example, our new We're Here to Help post is already seeing above average engagement while encouraging taxpayers to visit our Taxpayers' Rights Advocate webpage for more information. Next week, we'll introduce a Proposition 19 post focused on transfers of property between parents and children, and we plan to continue adding a new educational topic each month. Social media will emphasize the human impact of Board of Equalization services, real-world needs and outcomes, highlighting what we mean to the Californians that we serve. You'll see more real people in our social media posts in relatable circumstances, all intended to help establish a bit of an emotional connection and foster feelings of trust and confidence. We certainly encourage county assessors to share these educational posts on their own social media channels, and we welcome feedback. Turning to our website, we are expanding our efforts to assess and improve our public-facing web pages with a focus on making data-driven decisions about what pages we prioritize and the changes that we make to improve the user experience. As reflected in my report, we've increased our use of analytics to better understand how visitors find our site, what devices they use, and what content they engage with. In the first quarter, our web pages received more than 1.2 million views, clear evidence of strong public interest. Our homepage remains the most visited, with our property tax landing page being next, followed by the Proposition 19 page. That page alone saw an additional 43,000 views in the first quarter, bringing it to nearly 1 million views since its launch. Notably, while the Proposition 19 webpage ranks third in overall visited, it was the most searched topic across our sites. Calling out a few additional insights, we are seeing a higher share of users accessing our site from desktop computers. Not particularly surprising considering the number of professionals, particularly in county assessors' offices, who rely on desktop systems. But at the same time, broader trends show, of course, that we typically prefer to access online information from a mobile device. That's an opportunity for us at the Board of Equalization. We can certainly improve the mobile experience by making our content more accessible across all devices. For example, reducing our reliance on PDFs and shifting towards more mobile-friendly web content. We'll continue to look at adopting design approaches that help us improve usability, whether someone is on a mobile device or on desktop. We also looked at browser usage. Approximately 60% of our visitors access our site using Google Chrome, another 26% use Safari, and roughly 10% on Microsoft Edge. Insights like this really reinforce the value of analytics to guide our decisions. What it tells us is that nearly 90% of our users are experiencing our website through a browser environment that's very different than the one that we support internally. That gap is important, and it highlights an opportunity for us to better align our internal tools with how the public actually accesses our services. As we continue to mature our approach, we'll need to expand how we test and optimize our public content, particularly for Chrome and for Safari, to ensure a consistent experience for the public. We'll continue to analyze all of these trends in the coming weeks to better prioritize updates and improve the overall user experience. Finally, we have begun our communications plan along with the Taxpayer Rights Advocate's Office for the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights hearing later in the summer. that communications plan will materialize here in the weeks ahead. So members, this does conclude my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Any questions? Mr. Vasquez?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Taylor, for your report. I was just looking at the numbers, and you kind of touched on them. I just had a quick question on the Translate webpage, I guess you mentioned. I understand the BOE is like in 7 different languages now. And I guess it was like 8,600 views on that page in the last quarter. Are you able to tell of that group what different languages were being requested of the 8,600?
So I appreciate the question, Mr. Vasquez. In expanding our use of analytics, we have also expanded a tool that will allow us to count how many clicks occur on that page by those top languages. Our web content is actually available in all of the languages that Google offers. So I think it was like 180-ish today. So far more than the top languages that are offered here. What these are the instructions that we offer on that Translate page. So we've taken the top most commonly spoken languages in California, and we've provided curated content in language to help them better understand how to configure their browsers to best access those translation tools. But truly a much broader group of Californians in languages beyond these can access that content. In future months, I do expect to have a better analysis of which languages are being accessed.
So you'll be able to do some kind of a matrix with it to see what's, I guess, the most request, for
Yeah,
example?
that's my intent. What we'll be able to do is count how many visitors are accessing each language page for instruction. And then I'll be working with our IT services provider to better understand which language browsers are defaulting language to when they visit as well. So that'll be a little bit more of what we do in the weeks and months ahead.
Thank you.
Great. Mr. Emron?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank you, Mr. Taylor. Great report. I really appreciate seeing your first report include so much data and analytics and how we can really track and improve the taxpayer experience at the State Board of Equalization. 71% of users access the BOE website on a desktop computer, so that's almost double the national norm. What do you think it is? Do you think when taxpayers are logging onto the BOE website, they're like, hey, I have to sit down and actually be in front of a big screen while I go through all these tax documents? Or is it just kind of a trend? Maybe it's because I'm looking, because it's saying that the typical BOE audience is between 35 to 54, so a little bit more of a savvy audience. So I'm just kind of finding out the discrepancy here, trying to figure that out.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Emron. It is a disparity that stands out, right? And if we look at our own personal experience, I spend most of my time creeping around the web on my mobile device. That number in the 75% range, it's a little high, but it's not entirely surprising. If you look at our audience of industry professionals, you look at our county partners, whether those be assessors, clerks, auditors, most of those folks are sitting in an office, likely at a computer. You know that I have some experience from another tax agency. So we were experiencing roughly low 60% of professionals accessing through a desktop computer. Because we're so high in the 70% range, we do have an opportunity. There are some glaring accessibility issues with mobile devices, particularly the number of PDFs that we utilize on our site. We can definitely take that disparity and use it as inspiration to become more mobile friendly.
Absolutely, and my whole other train of thought is maybe they're printing documents, and maybe that's another reason that they're using the desktop as well. And then lastly, with the social media, on the most common social media channels for California state government, we've listed 4, but don't we use YouTube as well? Or is that just for their video meetings?
For sure, we have a YouTube channel. It is predominantly a video archive channel. So we're not attempting to engage with the public in a back and forth conversation or share additional information other than our videos on YouTube. In fact, we'll share those YouTube videos as you've seen on all of our other channels. So we're not promoting an audience there. It's very small. Most of the views that we get on YouTube are inspired from Facebook, Instagram, X, or LinkedIn.
Understood. Maybe TikTok one day, next quarter maybe. Thank you.
That's great. Mr. Schaefer, any questions for Mr.
Yes,
Taylor?
thank you. Thank you. Mr. Taylor, I want to welcome you to the board. I hadn't mentioned before because I wasn't out there at the last meeting in person and you were, I guess, introduced. Over the last 7 years, almost monthly, I run into some kind of error in the listing of an address or a phone number or a BOE email. And I see that you visit our 9475 public facing web pages and that you would come across these and correct them as best you can. I have a concern that my BOE email comes to Mike.Schaefer1 at BOE.gov and Mike Schaefer without any number at BOE.gov. And I have not been getting the BOE without any number. I just wondered where it goes to. I would prefer to just have one BOE email. So anybody who goes online looking for me for whatever purpose, the email is going to connect. It'll go to one of my staff members and I'll get a call. Is there some reason I have to have two BOE emails instead of one? And I guess that's standard practice with everybody, but I was not aware of a problem until recently. I ran into somebody that was trying to reach me at the BOE without the one, and it somehow never transmitted. Do you have any?
Good afternoon, Member Schaefer. Yvette Stowers here. I will take that question if you don't mind. You have two email accounts. The one with the one on it, that's your public one. And all elected officials have a similar account. They have their public one, and then they have the one that you would generally have on your business card, Mike Schaefer at BOE.ca.gov.
So you're
you have
saying
to-
the public account is the one that has number one on it?
Yes.
Yeah,
And,
so
and,
I
and
have
you,
no-
and you do have access to that account. It comes to you, you can open it up and read the mail.
You're talking about the BOE, the Mike Schaefer one or the Mike,
Both of them.
Mike Schaefer without a one?
When you log into your BOE devices, you can read any email that came to Mike Schaefer with the one behind it or to Mike Schaefer in general.
The only BO device I have is a cell phone.
Okay.
As you know, I understand my former
Yeah.
chief of staff.
I
lost the
I
one.
think this is a different conversation that we should have offline.
Okay, but I'm concerned about it, and when I find out that Mr. Taylor is viewing our public presence on the internet, I want him to know that occasionally there are wrong addresses or numbers pop up for members or for the board itself. I mean, we don't have an office on N Street anymore, yet, that might pop up sometimes. I know it's not your responsibility or our responsibility because a lot of that stuff we don't have anything to do with. But if it's out there with misinformation, we should catch it and correct it just for the public interest.
I understand your concern, sir, but if a social media channel has our wrong address, that's outside of our scope. We can't make that change. And if Yellow Pages continues to have an outdated address for us, that's outside of our scope. We cannot make that change.
Okay, could I ask you to send me a brief note just advising me what I can do about the BOE, the Mike.Schaefer without a one?
Okay.
I have not seen those and I want to know how to see those.
Okay, I will.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Okay, excellent. Mr. Taylor, did you have any parting words for us?
No, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. It's exciting to see the uptake on the different platforms, especially around the hot topics like Prop 19. Mr.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Just a quick question. and you kind of touched on it when you were talking about the different platforms. You know, I'm not one of these techies, but you mentioned, I guess, Facebook and Instagram. Is there like a group, I hear this Meta, what is Meta? Is that like a combination of all these when you get onto those platforms?
Yeah, so Meta includes the combination of Facebook and Instagram. So it's the parent company.
Is that the most effective? I don't know.
Each platform is effective for a different purpose. So X, for example, is very effective at communicating with stakeholders and to engage with the legislature to keep them more informed about the agency's events. LinkedIn, for example, is extremely effective for promoting our jobs and careers. It's also an effective channel for talking to a vendor community about opportunities to engage with the Board of Equalization. Facebook is a great channel for us, certainly in terms of communicating with the 35 and over crowd. Instagram tends to favor a little bit younger. So it's important for us to be on all of these social media channels so that we can really reach all Californians in some regard.
And is there one entity that covers them all, or do you have to hit each one?
We have to do each one. It's really it's an efficient process, so it's not complicated for us. There are tools that as we expand our outreach on social media where we can do that even more efficiently, but in terms of managing each of those channels today, we can do that very effectively.
Thanks.
Great. Okay, thank you very much. I'll go on to item 14, the Taxpayer Rights Advocates Office report, presented by Ms. Thompson.
So good afternoon, Chair Lieber and honorable board members. I am Lisa Thompson, Chief of the Taxpayer Rights Advocate Office, and I'm pleased to provide you with an update on the activities of the Taxpayer Rights Advocate Office to keep you informed. As far as the total number of completed cases for March 2026, we completed 27. 18 were in Vice Chair Gaines's district, District 1, 4 in Chair Lieber's district, District 2, 2 were in Member Vasquez's district, District 3, and 3 were in Board Member Schaefer's district, District 4. Of those 27 cases, 6 were in the administrative category and 21 in the valuation category. The memo that is attached to the PAN will identify all the topics within those categories. However, for the valuation category, the topic with the highest number of cases was exclusions with 10. And for the highest number in the administrative category, the topic with the highest number was delinquent and defaulted taxes at 2. This month, of those 10 exclusion cases, 2 pertain to the parent-child exclusion, 1 pertained to the grandparent-grandchild exclusion, 4 pertain to base year value transfers, and 1 pertained to base year value transfers for eminent domain, which that means basically the taxpayer's property was taken by the government, and then the taxpayer later acquired a replacement property. 1 pertained to the solar exclusion, and 1 for new construction exclusion for a property after a rebuild following a disaster. Lastly, I wanted to circle back to Member Vasquez's question from last month, where he had asked about taxpayer information sheets and if we had planned to publish any more than the 4 that we currently have available in Spanish. I said that there were 15 information sheets available in English and that our former communications officer had worked with our service provider to have those 4 information sheets in Spanish, which those covered basically the parent-child transfer and the grandparent-grandchild transfer under Proposition 19 and current law as well as prior law. So after the meeting, I met with the communications officer, the new communications officer, John Taylor, about those information sheets, and he does have some ideas on how we could have those information sheets available in other languages. Essentially, the existing information sheets would remain in English as they are now, with them being available in PDF. And then there would be another option that's added to that page that would enable a user to select it or click it and be able to access an HTML format, which would allow them to translate it in any number of languages. So that will accommodate that. We do have a current information sheet that we are working on supplemental assessments right now, and there is a bill that's currently underway that would affect 2 of the information sheets we have. So after that is taken care of, we will continue conversations with the communications officer, or TR office. And that concludes my update, unless there are any questions.
Any questions? No, well,
Okay,
thank you so
thank you.
much.
I have a question.
Mr. Schaefer, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you. Ms. Thompson, I had a couple of questions unrelated to your report. Do you ever go out and speak in the public to any civic group or anybody that's interested in the profession of being a taxpayer's advocate? I think it'd be a very interesting program for a civic group, and I wonder if you've ever been asked, or a few times a year, does the public know anything about you other than your work with us?
No, I don't actively go out and do public speaking. So primarily our work is assisting taxpayers in the office. So yeah, I mean, assessors' offices do have links to our TRA offices and our services on their websites available. And of course, your board members' offices do inform the public about our existence so we can help them. So there are outreach efforts. And of course, as Mr. Taylor had said, he's currently working on an expanded kind of outreach efforts to promote our TRA office functions through the different social media posts. So,
Do you have occasion to meet up with the other taxpayer advocates in California annually or whenever? Or is there a Western or national meeting of taxpayers advocates where you get to meet others doing your same work in other parts of the country? I ask this question because you might learn of certain taxpayer advantages that maybe it would be a good thing for us to try and emphasize, and I'd like you to feel free to share them with me so I could bring them before the board.
yeah, so there are other agencies, state agencies in California, as well as the IRS. Also, they have a California person, and they have advocates as well. And so we do meet. I think it's kind of, I would say every maybe 5 months. So it's more often than 2 years, but it's not every quarter. So we do meet that and talk. So we actually do have an upcoming meeting May, I believe it's the 14th. So all of the advocates will get together and talk. And of course, we share each other's contacts. So if we are made aware of a taxpayer maybe that has a problem in that area, then we direct them to each other. So do that.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And we'll go on now to item 15, which is the Property Tax Deputy Director's Report. And Mr. McCool will be opening on this one.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Chair Lieber and honorable members. My name is Jack McCool, Chief of the State Assessed Properties Division. The Property Tax Department has 4 reports for you today. Ms. Carolyn Steeman will provide an update on the most recent letters to assessors, followed by an update on training and certification. Ms. Holly Cooper will then present a quarterly report on assessment practices surveys, and I will conclude by summarizing work taking place in the State Assessed Properties Division. So without any further delay, Ms. Carolyn Steeman.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Lieber and honorable board members. I'm Carolyn Steeman, Principal Appraiser with the County Assessed Properties Division. Today I will provide a brief report on letters to assessors. Attached to this month's agenda is a memo on letters to assessors, which provides a list of the LTAs issued since the report at the last board meeting and a link to the BOE's website where a list of all LTAs issued to date can be found. As of the date of the attached memo, the agency has issued a total of 16 LTAs for calendar year 2026 and 3 since the report at the last board meeting. Those LTAs are summarized in order as follows. An LTA from the Assessment Practices Survey Division to issue the El Dorado County Assessment Sampling Survey, an LTA from the Legal Department on Assessment Appeals Board members' cross-county appointment questions, and an LTA from the County Assessed Properties Division to request the assessment appeals filing period. This concludes my report on letters to assessors, and I'm available for any questions if you have any.
Great. Any questions, members? Okay, seeing none.
Okay, now I'll provide a brief report on the BOE's appraisal training and certification program. For the 2025-26 fiscal year, BOE staff scheduled 40 classes and 2 webinars. Additionally, 7 classes were scheduled with instructors in the county assessor's offices for their staff. Of the courses taught by the BOE, 36 have been completed since the beginning of the fiscal year, including 3 since the last board meeting. In addition, both webinars have been completed. For courses taught by the counties, 7 have been completed since the beginning of this fiscal year. We continue to offer our existing online basic training courses through American River College and the California State University, Sacramento, as well as additional online courses and self-study training sessions available on the BOE's website. This concludes my report on training and certification, and I am available for any questions if you have any.
Great. Any questions on the training and certification? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now we'll go on to Ms. Cooper for the Assessment Practices Surveys Quarterly Report.
Good afternoon, Chair Lieber and honorable members of the board. Holly Cooper, Chief of the Assessment Practices Survey Division. During the first quarter of 2026, the Assessment Practices Survey Division has issued 4 audit reports via letters to assessors in Santa Barbara, El Dorado, Sacramento, and Tehama counties. In Santa Barbara County, we conducted a statistical sampling for roll year 23-24. They had an average assessment ratio of 99.85%, and the sum of absolute differences was 1.74%. In El Dorado and Sacramento counties, we conducted statistical samplings for roll year 24-25. El Dorado County had an average assessment ratio of 96.43%, and the sum of absolute differences was 3.57%. Sacramento County had an average assessment ratio of 99.82%, and the sum of absolute differences was 0.18%. In Tehama County, we conducted a compliance audit survey, which includes a review of the assessor's administrative, real property, and business property procedures and practices for roll year 24-25. We made a total of 8 recommendations. In the area of administration, we made the following 1 recommendation. Report statistics as requested by the BOE pursuant to Section 407. In the area of real property, we made the following 3 recommendations. Improve the LEOP program by reassessing all properties owned by a legal entity undergoing a change in control or ownership and properly applying penalties in accordance with Section 482B. Submit quarterly reports to the BOE pursuant to Section 69.6. Classify wells as land pursuant to Rule 124. And finally, in the area of personal property and fixtures, we made 4 recommendations. Perform the minimum number of audits of professions, trades, and businesses pursuant to Section 469. Enroll all escape assessments and overassessments discovered during an audit. Improve the business equipment valuation program by supporting any divergence from the BOE recommended use of price indexes and percent good factors published in Assessor Handbook 581 with market evidence, and applying the mobile agricultural equipment percent good factors prescribed in Table 6 of the handbook as intended. We also recommend they improve the manufactured home program by excluding site value from the reported purchase price of a manufactured home on rented or leased land when determining the current market value to be enrolled, and periodically reviewing manufactured home assessments for decline in value. In summary, for all audit reports, the BOE found no significant assessment problems as defined in Rule 371. Therefore, the assessors are eligible to receive reimbursement of costs associated with administering supplemental assessments. This concludes my quarterly report on the Assessment Practices Survey Program, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Cooper? Okay, seeing, Mr. Vasquez.
I'm not sure it's a question for you, but I was just noticing on the LTAs, and I think it was mentioned earlier, the cross-county AAB appointments. And I know this was brought up in a prior meetings and stuff, but moving forward, I was wondering how that's moving, and are we getting other counties participating or sharing some of their skill sets with the LTA, with the assistance that I guess you guys put out? It looks like it's, or at least I'm hearing some good things about it. I was just wondering what your feedback might be.
I believe that's Mr. Moon's.
Thank you.
Legal's LTA. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Richard Moon, Chief Counsel. So that LTA it went out. So it's out there for the counties to see. And we've heard some feedback from a couple counties that they were grateful for us clarifying that issue. As to what their specific plans are, we haven't heard anything yet. But I'm sure if they have questions, they will reach out and
They'll back.
and ask. So.
Okay, I guess we'll just wait, yeah, because I was hearing some rumblings, but I haven't heard anything positive or negative, yeah. I was wondering if anybody here has heard anything.
Yeah, so we have heard positive comments. I think the counties, again, we've heard specifically from a couple that were very grateful that we put that out. And I think the idea was that it allows them to now pursue some things that they perhaps were hesitant to do prior to that LTA.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Excellent. Okay.
Any other questions?
Any questions for Ms. Cooper?
Thank you.
Seeing none? Okay, thank you. We'll have Mr. McCool back up to bring it all home.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Lieber, honorable members. My name is Jack McCool, Chief of the State Assessed Properties Division. As you are all aware, we are in the midst of our valuation season. SAPD staff are diligently working on completing the unitary appraisals, and our staff are working at full capacity. We were fortunate to be able to hire 4 new tax auditors in recent months, so we are also doing extensive training for our new staff as we work through the busiest part of our annual assessment calendar. We also continue to engage with assessee representatives and will continue to make ourselves available to discuss issues and meet with assessees as needed. Once we have completed our valuation season, staff will immediately begin work on allocating the total unitary values to the counties. In addition, staff will begin working on the valuations for the private railroad cars. PRC property statements become due on April 30th, and staff will be working on completing those valuations before the July adoption of the PRC assessment rule. In short, we are very busy working to finish our valuations ahead of the unitary value setting meeting at next month's board meeting. Thank you, members. That concludes my summary of the State Assessed Properties Division and also concludes the Property Tax Deputy Director's report for this month. And myself and the team are happy to answer any additional questions you may have.
Thank you. Any further questions? Okay, seeing none, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Members, it's 2:22, so I think we'll take our 10-minute labor break at this time since we have a couple lengthy items coming up. So we'll come back at 2:32.
Hello, Chair Lieber, members of the board.
Thank you.
My name is Laurel Williams. I'm the BOE's technical advisor for the special tax programs, which include the tax on insurers and the alcoholic beverage tax. I'm going to start with my report with the tax on insurers program. The number of accounts has increased slightly since my last report, currently at 2,848 accounts. According to the March 2026 Department of Finance Bulletin, revenues for this program for fiscal year 25-26 are at $2.26 billion, which is approximately 1.2% or $26 million above the forecasted amount. This program remains very compliant. Our next program is the alcoholic beverage tax program. There are 10,646 alcohol beverage tax accounts, which is unchanged from my last report. According to the March 2026 Department of Finance Bulletin, revenues for this program in fiscal year 25-26 are at $285 million, which is 0.9% below projections, so approximately $3 million below the forecasted amount. The opt-in, opt-out rate for the wine growers' returns was slightly lower since my last report. It's really loud. At approximately 60% of wine growers opting out of public disclosure, and the beer industry also saw a slight decrease, bringing its opt-out rate to 57%. I'll say that those numbers are slightly have a very large population because the stats that were used were for the returns for the end of the year, which every taxpayer has to file because we do have quarterly, monthly, and calendar yearly accounts. So many of my other quarterly reports don't account for the calendar yearly filers since they only have to file once a year. So these numbers do incorporate a large population. This program remains very compliant as well. While we are continuing to experience a downturn in alcohol consumption, for instance, a recent Gallup poll indicated that only 54% of respondents indicated they'd consumed alcohol in 2025, which is the lowest it has been, I believe, since Gallup's been maintaining that fact. It has been kind of normalizing since COVID levels. When we hit COVID, we had a large spike of increased alcohol consumption, and I've met with colleagues in other states that have gone over this and are experiencing this as well. So it spiked, and it's kind of plateauing, and maybe even right-sizing. There are other factors going into decreased alcohol consumption as well that, again, are at a national and even worldwide level. So none of these are specific necessarily to California. So with that said, I'm continuing to work with my colleagues in other states regarding the national trends in alcoholic and tax policy matters related to the alcohol programs. So unless there are any questions, that will conclude my report for this quarter.
Okay, members, any questions? Mr. Vasquez.
Mine's more of a comment. Thank you for clearing up, now that I had that question about the shortfall. But more of a comment, it sounds like you know how to use the mic. I was able to hear you a lot clearer than the others. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your report.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. And members will go on now to item 17, the Legislative Research and Statistics Division Chief's Report by Mr. Angelo.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members. Ted Angelo, Ledge Director, Chief of the Legislative Research and Statistics Division. And good to see you all. I'm going to give a brief rundown of some of the activity. I've recently been forwarding to you on our usual kind of Friday updates, as well as one I sent to you yesterday, just on some of the committee hearings that have been taking place. I've explained before, we have, you're all aware of the suspense file, and there's two suspense files on this, on the Assembly side, and the Rev and Tax Committee and the Appropriations Committee. So first, I'm happy to say that the board-sponsored proposal, SB 1437, by the Senate Rev and Tax Committee to extend the sunset date governing pipeline rights-of-way in Rev and Tax Code Section 401.10 is scheduled to be heard. It was heard today in Senate Rev and Tax and passed on consent this morning. So that has no known opposition and no votes. So should be smooth sailing for that bill on consent. Are you getting an echo? Do I need to move it a little further away? Okay. Sound like Darth Vader. Sorry. So, second, my office has forwarded a number of BOE-related bills and analyses to you over the last several weeks. We're working on a number of bills that have somewhat complex revenue estimates, and so we're going to be getting more analyses out to you very soon. Recent amendments that were taken in committees are being reviewed, and we're working on analyzing them and incorporating them. So the following is a brief summary of recent activity, and I'll try to go through it at a decent, I won't go into great detail, but I'll kind of summarize what's been happening. AB 1668 by Pellerin extends the property tax welfare exemptions in Rev and Tax Code 21402 by an additional 5 years. It's scheduled to be heard as a tax levy bill in Assembly Rev and Tax on April 27th with other tax levy measures. So that's just an extension of a sunset governing those welfare exemptions in that specific code section. And again, I don't have Mr. Young here with me today, so be wary of that when you ask questions about specific items. Just kidding, but not. AB 1971 Bennett is the home hardening bill that we've discussed. That bill had new amendments to clarify cross-references for BOE, and it clarifies via what we currently do via Rule 463, and would like us to update that via this proposal. That retrofits that don't add square footage or substantial rehabilitation will not trigger reassessment. That's the major scope of the bill. I don't have the position of the assessors on this. I don't know where they are on it, but they follow 463, and this would have us update 463 to make that clear. So I would think it would be okay, but I don't want to put any words in their mouths, and it wasn't one that they brought up when they summarized their bills. AB 2022 Gonzalez is the property tax for disabled veterans full exemption that was passed by the Military and Veterans Affairs Committee, and it's up in Rev and Tax on the Assembly side on April 27th. This bill is the one that would exempt the principal place of residence of a veteran, the veteran's spouse, or the veteran jointly with the spouse if they're 100% disabled, has provisions for unmarried surviving spouse, requires certain documentation to assessors to receive the exemption, and prohibits any other real property tax exemption from being granted to a claimant doing this if it were to pass. And it has a 5-year sunset where they would revisit it before 1/1/32. It obviously has a big price tag, and that'll be going to appropriations after Assembly Rev and Tax. AB 2089 Ward passed off of Assembly Rev and Tax suspense. this past Monday. So they heard on April 20th, they heard suspense file measures, but not tax levies. So some are continuations of tax levies that have been put in place, others are new ones. So there are still fiscal issues going on in the rev and tax, but the suspense file was Monday. The ward bill, AB 2089, originally allowed transfer of a welfare exemption when a change of ownership occurs, but they did a number of amendments, and I summarized them for you in a message, in an email, but for today, I'll just say it would require assessors to provide on their internet website certain documentation requirements for exemptions to be updated. There was some strike through. I don't have all the language here, but amendments mentioned yesterday, informally phrased for today, attempt to make e-signature process permissive rather than mandated, hold counties harmless for not publishing info not yet published by the Board of Equalization, remove prohibition on collecting certain types of property tax that was in the bill before, and require posting material on certain assessor websites. So I won't know until I see the language in print, and we'll be taking a look at that and getting that out to you. AB 2172 Gibson is a property tax assessment appeals board proposal. That passed off suspense on Monday for April 20th and requires an appellant. It had some amendments in it that would require them to opt out if they didn't want to proceed with the new, rather than a 3 and 5 member board, it would be a 1 commissioner. I talked about it last month and the month before about the proposal. And it also is only for counties with a population of 500,000 or more. But it is something they can opt out of rather than going the full 3 or 5 commissioner. But it's trying to find a happy medium for those that, can't fill that especially with the problems in LA. So that bill was amended and it's moving forward to appropriations. It also requires BOE to adopt rules and guidelines necessary to ensure consistent hearing procedures, and it goes through all the qualifications that must be for the commissioner, and I won't go into those today, but they're significant. AB 2389 is an active solar bill, and it's an extension for what they refer to as active solar energy systems. It's an extension for what was sunsetting at the end of last year that we went over in depth. It's for new construction and add-ons, so with 2 megawatts or less. But it also has some language in it that was recently put in it regarding those on publicly owned property that are probably leased, on what that can be, how that money would be utilized to reduce. It's a little complex, but it is an extension in essence of new construction mandate, tax exclusion for the cost of the solar system, whether it's on a new home and a permitted, and we're working on getting the data for you so you can see the revenue estimate on it, but that's what it does in essence. SB 974 Sayardo is the Special Needs Trust statutory clarification. I sent the analysis yesterday for severely disabled folks. So it's a special needs trust clarification. Sometimes it's handled correctly under existing law. It's moving on consent with no opposition, and you have the analysis on that. SB 996 Padilla is the manufactured housing classified as real property. It doesn't directly relate to our jurisdiction because we tax it, as I explained last month, either way, depending on how it's situated and the type of property it is. It's in Senate Appropriations, and it removed the BOE LTA requirement that was in the bill, because it really isn't about us telling the assessors how to do it, it's making it clear in law. So I'll double check on that one, but that was a recent amendment to SB 996 Padilla. SB 1053 NELO is the statewide disaster relief base year value transfer from 5 to 8 years that we've dealt for the fire zones. It gives county governments the authority to just make it 8 years instead of adding the additional 3 by statute. It has a big price tag because it's a big unknown, But it would offer that flexibility for any county that has a fire to automatically have 8 years instead of 5 that's in the current code. It's on suspense in the Appropriations Committee on the Senate side. SB 1298, Jones, is an interesting one. It deals with church parking, and it's universal church parking exemption, which is in the code, but it has a congregation size limit of 500 people. So and it's dealing with leased property. So if you have a large mega church and you're leasing a parking lot to accommodate parking, that part is taxed, but the church property is not. And again, I don't have David Young here with me to go into the details on this, but this bill would get rid of that congregation size issue, and it would simplify what assessors have to do right now with whether they actually have to tax it or not regarding religious parking for what is currently exempt under their own property. So I will follow up with you on that. And that's up on May 6th in Senate Rev and Tax, and the analysis is forthcoming. SB 1352, Valadares, is the disaster rebuild clarification. This bill was up this morning in Senate Rev and Tax. It's supported by the assessors, Howard Jarvis, the realtors, and LA County Assessor Prang was there this morning in support of it. This bill aligns building code standards with assessment standards, gets rid of some ambiguity in current law. With committee amendments, it's basically what we've talked about with substantial equivalence. So if you're allowed to rebuild by code after a disaster, either by local ordinance or by gubernatorial declaration of emergency, up to 110%, but the government, it's not clear in the code whether you can or you'll be assessed on that. This makes it clear that it would not. So it's helping people after a disaster knowing they're not going to get a higher tax bill if they build up to 110% of the footprint of their property that was destroyed. Let's see here, SB 1415, is the moderate income partial tax exclusion, similar to SB 336 from last year. That's going to be in Rev and Tax on May 6th. And you've seen it, and we'll have the analysis to you on that one. And I believe it has a limited timeframe sunset date on that one. In terms of the 2-year bills, I've summarized them for you before, but they've crossed over and they'll be heard when they take up the bills from the Senate going over and vice versa. SEA 4 and the board supported SB 623, I've mentioned before, the combining of the veterans and homeowners exemptions rather than the other proposal I mentioned earlier, where it does the entire property is exempt. SB 288, Ciardo, is the one that gives people in probate more time to transfer the base year value. That moved over and hasn't been scheduled for hearing yet, but will be up in Assembly Rev and Tax. And you have the analysis from the BOE analysis was posted and forwarded to you. If you have any questions on any others, my office will continue to keep you updated with the weekly status reports and anything that I haven't mentioned today. If you have any interest, we're tracking other bills that deal with not direct impact to BOE, but those that we're tracking, like the Diablo Canyon mitigation, SB 931, could have an impact for us on the state assessment level. So we're looking at those bills, but they're not something that we're looking at today and to report on today. Others dealing with alcohol and insurance taxation provisions in current law that don't go to the Rev and Tax committees because they don't have a revenue generating tool, but they are under our guise. So we're looking at those as well, and they're on the list that I send to you every week on the other bills of interest. So I will leave off there, and that concludes my report, and I'm free to answer any questions you might have on any of the bills I mentioned today or those that I didn't.
Great. Mr. Vasquez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Angelo, for this detailed report. You mentioned that, I know Prang was here testifying today. Do we know if it came out of committee or anything?
Yes, it did. Which bill? The substantial equivalence bill?
Yes. I
That
think it was
bill
the
did.
110, is that the
Yes,
110?
it did go out of committee
What was the number on
today.
that? That was the Senate bill, right?
Yes, SB 1352.
1352?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And then you talked a little bit about the AB 1971 Bennett bill, which was the hardening
Yes.
improvements. And you mentioned that I think some of it's going to be kicked back to us in terms of what we may or may have to do on that?
Yeah, so without David Young here today, I can't, and I don't want to put legal on the spot, but we have a Rule 463 that assessors rely upon for things that aren't assessable events, so improvements. What they would like to do is clarify in this bill that we would update Rule 463 to ensure that home hardening efforts that do not increase square footage, would not otherwise be an assessable event, are not going to be assessed. That's it in the grand scheme of things.
Richard Moon, Chief Counsel. So my understanding of this bill is that it sort of changed so that the statute itself no longer provides the exclusion explicitly, but rather it directs the board to issue regulations. And as Mr. Angelo said, that regulation that we would change if this would pass is 463. So it doesn't change any of the standards for new construction, what would be considered new construction. What it says is it's a direction to our agency to define certain types of home hardening as not meeting the existing new construction standards.
So would that be a rule that we'd have to come up with, or just?
Yeah, so we have a Rule 463, that's about new construction. And so in all likelihood, what we would end up doing is amending that rule.
Amending it?
Yes.
So at some point, we don't know where it's at, so at some point, we should probably have it come back, and I guess the board needs to take a position on that officially, or how does that work?
Yeah, let's see. I think it was,
Because I know you mentioned several other bills that are in the mix and are being heard, and I'm just wondering if, I don't know if May or June, well, I guess it has to probably be May, right? Because June, a lot of them will have to be finalized. We probably should have some of those folks that hopefully, if they're being amended and they're finalized, come back and at least present what their final amendments are and see if the board's on board. Because we probably should take positions on them if they make sense in terms of making it better for the assessors in the end of the game.
go ahead.
Yvette Stowers, Executive Director. If the board would like to take a position on any of these bills, then it would be a board member matter that you could.
Bring it up?
You could bring it up, put it on an agenda, and then you could invite the author of the bill to come before the board to provide an overview of it, but it would be not something that we would do on our side. Just kind of, like you've done last year, you brought bills before the body. So we go back to that process.
Okay. Yeah, because I happened to fly back with Jeff Prang on Monday, and we were talking about the one he's talking about, this commission, special commissioner. And he was asking if it was possible to agendize it. I said, well, let me know when you finalize what it actually is going to do, so I could share it with my colleagues and see if there's the will to support it.
So, yes. So
Okay.
if that's something if you would like to do, just, give us the memo.
Will do.
And within the required timeframe, whenever I send out that.
No, as soon as I find out, I'll
Yeah.
share it with you.
Yeah, okay.
Just in terms of tiers of home hardening, in your just legal or expert opinion, are there types of home hardening where it's so substantial where it does trigger new construction compared to just state-guided home hardening efforts?
So as far as I remember, if it hasn't changed, there's a definition of home hardening that they refer to in a different code, not the revenue and tax code. And so I think the idea is as long as it meets that definition And it also meets the definition of new construction. Now, as you've correctly pointed out, I think that's where sort of the rubber's going to hit the road, so to speak, in making that determination, whether it actually, for example, is so substantial that it's new, that it increases square footage or something else.
Because I'm thinking two tiers, like we have homes in the woods, they're very modest, very humble, and then you have these $15-20 million homes in Malibu where somebody can afford to just completely overhaul it, right? So something that we can keep on the horizon. But thank you, Mr. Vasquez, for bringing that up.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Angelo? Okay, seeing none, did you wish to close?
Nope, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. That report. And now we're going to go to public comment for the executive director's reports. These are items 8 through 17, and we have no written comments nor any speaker cards. So we're going to go to our AT&T moderator. Moderator, if you could please let us know if there's anyone hoping to make comments on any of the items from 8 through 17.
For anyone with comments, please press 1, then 0. And it appears no one is queued up to ask a question. Please continue.
Thank you. Members, the last item for today is closing remarks and then our adjournment. And Mr. Emron for closing remarks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank all the board members for a great April meeting. I did want to give a PSA. This happened recently, and it made quite a bit of headlines in Napa County. There was dozens of property tax checks mailed to the county that were stolen or altered in an organized fraud scheme called check washing. These stolen checks were over maybe $1 to $2 million. One check was even $200,000. And the way this organized theft works is that criminals steal the checks from the mail and then chemically erase parts like the payee or the amount so they can deposit the money themselves. Some sent to out-of-state entities. There's one check traced all the way to Florida, and many victims only discovered that they were a victim of fraud after getting delinquent tax notices, even though they already mailed it to they already mailed their payments. So just a reminder to check your accounts, verify the dollar amounts, and if anything feels off, contact your local county office. And I want to just lend my support and love to Napa County while they go through this. I know the FBI is involved, the postal police, and the Napa County officials as well. So just thinking 2026, all this organized stuff, and it's something that we tackle at Franchise Tax Board every single day, but it's just very sad, and I'm hope that all the victims get their money back and get some closure here. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Excellent, thank you. Any closing comments, Mr. Vasquez?
Yes. First of all, just thanking staff, and especially the last presentation here by Ted Angelo on just updating us on all these bills that are coming up. I know it's gonna come to a crunch this next month. Really appreciate the updates. And then I would like to, is it appropriate to do the closing? The adjournments? Okay. I'd like to note two men who passed recently in my district. Both had severe issues, but made some contributions in their respective careers. First, I'd like to remember the nationally respected composer and performer of Latin music, Marcos Loya, who also gained international prominence when he co-starred with Madonna in her classic video, La Isla Bonita, and in 1987. He died in Whittier area from undisclosed causes on April the 9th, 2026, after experiencing several issues, and he even actually fell into a little bit of a homeless situation in his final years. We lost him at the age of 68 years old. Loya was an accomplished film soundtrack composer whose music was featured in several films, including The Deep Cover, Stand and Deliver, Kiss Me, A Killer, That score garnished him an Independent Spirit Award nomination. He also composed musical scores for the PBS productions and was composer and musical director for the Octavio Solis play La Posada Magical, The Magical Journey, which became the longest-running Latino-themed Christmas play in the country. In addition to his work with Madonna, he also performed with many noted artists, among them Placido Domingo, Linda Ronstadt, Celia Cruz, Tito Puente, Shaka Khan, Philip Bailey, Stephen Stills, Vicky Carr, Jose Feliciano. I had the opportunity to meet him early on in his career back in the 70s, and he was always willing to give and really did a lot for a lot of the nonprofits when he could. The second individual was a young man who was an alum of Venice High School. Angelo Gasco, a high school football coach and educator at Venice High, who spent over 3 decades leading and mentoring student athletes. He died of undisclosed causes on March 16, 2026, at the home in Venice, California, while watching a Los Angeles Lakers game on television. He was 65 years old. Gasco was a 1978 Venice High graduate who grew up using football to escape from gangs. He became a beloved special education teacher, mentor, and coach at his alma mater, where he served for 36 years. In his role as a football coach, he was known for his innovative passing schemes and for producing numerous top city sectional quarterbacks, and built the Venice High School team into a perennial city contender over 26 years serving as head coach. His teams won 43 consecutive league games from 2005 to 2014. Gasco's most important contributions as coach was training, supporting, and preparing players to become teachers and coaches. Most of his staff at Venice High had been made up of former players. He helped them stick with a difficult task of earning a teaching credential and finding jobs for themselves. Angelo Gasco is survived by his wife, Elda, and his daughter, Alicia. Both are also Venice High grads. I had the opportunity to interact with him several years. And actually, he was one of the ones that I think helped this one young man that we had, probably one of the best quarterbacks we ever had out of Venice High, J.P. Losman, who actually got drafted by the Buffalo Bills and was able to play professionally. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you for raising those, the names of those 2 notable Californians. Mr. Schaefer, any closing comments? Oh, wait a second, I think.
As a matter of brevity, I have no closing comments. They were very generous to me in the opening comments, and we had a very good meeting today, and I want to thank everybody who participated.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Members, we are ready to adjourn our board meeting. Our next scheduled board meeting is on Wednesday, May 27th, 2026, right here at the Mealy State Office Complex in Sacramento. Thank you, members.